Like many things in different sciences, we like to categorize different components of whatever it is that we're studying. And for minerals, one tool that we use is what's called the MOHS Hardness scale. Now, this is a scale that tells us how resistant a mineral is to abrasion. And the tougher the mineral, the higher the scale number. So, diamond, for instance, is one of the toughest minerals on Earth's surface, and it has the highest value on the on Mohs scale at 10. Some of the softest material is stuff like talc. And talc is such a soft material, you can not only scrape it with your fingernail, it powders extremely easy. In fact, we use it in things like, well, talcum powder or baby powder. It's very soft. It gives actually a slick feeling whenever you rub talc between your fingers. And so those are some characteristics of the softest end of minerals on the Mohs hardness scale. Now, there are these test kits that you can get that have very specialized tools that are ranging from 1 to 10 or even finer increments that are basically little pens with some sort of metal on the end that has a very specific hardness, and you can use those to scratch minerals. And if the mineral is softer than the tool that you're using, the mineral will get scratched. If the mineral is harder than the object you're using, it won't scratch. The reverse is true. The mineral could potentially scratch the object that you are using. And so in this way, we can define kind of a relative hardness of particular minerals. Not that we'll all have these minerals handy around the yard, but there are a number of things that we can look at if we go investigate. But we need some tools. And so the basic tools that we have around the house that you could use, as you can see in this image, you can use a steel nail, you can use a knife, you can use a copper penny, and your fingernails. And each of those have a hardness. Now notice that the image here shows the steel nail has a 6.5, a copper penny has about a 3.5, and a fingernail has a 2.5. The reason that those half increments are important is because it resides between the numbers on the Mohs hardness scale. So a copper penny, for instance, will scratch calcite, but it will not scratch fluorite. And so if you have a mineral and you can't determine if it's fluorite or calcite, you can scratch it. And if it scratches, it's calcite. If it doesn't, it's fluorite. That is one tool that you can use. If you continue up, if the copper penny doesn't scratch it, then you try the knife. If the knife doesn't scratch it, then you try the steel nail. And if the steel nail doesn't scratch the rock or the mineral that you're looking at, you know that it is harder than a steel nail, so it is harder than 6.5, which means it's probably quartz or an element that is a little bit harder than quartz. Quartz is the most common element, the most common mineral rather, on Earth's surface. So it's a very common component of rocks of all types. When you get into things in your house, you can look at talc, as we said, is in baby powder. The next mineral you see there, gypsum, you find that in drywall. So our walls that surround our house on the inside are usually made of gypsum, pressed gypsum. You'll have calcite. Well, we reside on limestone throughout most of the Madison area, and so the limestone is made of calcite. Fluorite you find in your toothpaste. It is what makes fluoride, that component of toothpaste. Apatite is interesting. You actually have apatite all through your body. So your teeth and your bones are actually made of apatite, or it's an apatite mineral that's surrounded by soft collagen fibers that help our bones bend. Orthoclase is a main component or a major component in granite, as is quartz. And quartz is commonly seen in sand, but many different minerals can make sand, which is just technically the size of something. Topaz is commonly used in jewelry. Corundum is used in nail files, so emery boards. Emery is a type of rock that is whose components is mostly corundum. They're used in really fine sandpapers and all sorts of abrasive papers because it is such a hard mineral. Small pieces of that glued onto paper makes a really good sanding medium. Diamonds also are used in as an abrasive or in cutting wheels, but because it's a lot harder and they're more expensive, the diamonds are used for things like cutting glass or cutting rock. So you have them on rock saws, glass saws, etc. So those are all the kind of common minerals that you'll find to deal with, and they have a specific hardness, and we'll use these tools to try to determine what those minerals are. So we can maybe head out into the yard and explore and try to find some rocks and use these basic tools to try to identify what minerals might that rock be composed of. Good luck and good hunting!